So a fraction is a number that names a part of the whole, okay? A part of the whole or the part of a group. So in a fraction, that top number, that's the one that tells us how many parts we're counting. Okay, this tells us the number we're talking about, the number that's shaded, the number that somebody ate. Okay, this is the number that tells us the parts that are being counted. The number on the bottom, remember the number on the bottom, we talked about this a lot, that's the number of equal parts in the whole. Okay, so the number on the bottom always tells us how many numbers are in the whole. Okay, so that's called a unit fraction, is one part of that whole. Okay, so if we're looking at this fraction right here, 1/6, we can see that we're talking about only one part, and there are 6 total parts in the whole. So here's our whole. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts that make up our whole. But we're only talking about one piece out of that whole. That top number tells us how many pieces we're talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and shade one of these pieces. Do the best I can to outline that. Okay, so that is not a good shading right there. There we go. All right. Good enough. So you can see, even though it's not a very good job of coloring in right there, that there is one piece that is shaded out of the 6 total pieces that make up the whole. Top number tells us how many we're talking about, the number that we're counting, the number of equal pieces that we're counting, just one. The bottom number tells us how many pieces are in the whole. So for every single fraction that we look at, that bottom number always tells us how many total pieces make up our whole. There are 6 total pieces. And the top number always tells us how many we're counting. And that would be just one this time. We're counting just one unit fraction. Let's take a look at our next page. So here we have the fraction 1/4. 1/4, and we can see 1 square is going to be the unit fraction. It's going to equal one of the pieces. So if we look here, A shows us that there are 4 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pieces to make up the whole. And if we were to shade in, let's see if I can do a better job than last time. Let's see, let's do red this time. Okay, so this would be 1. Not wonderful, Mrs. Jarvis, but good enough. All right. So we have 1 out of the 4 pieces shaded. So this is one way we can show 4 pieces to make up the whole. Over here is another way that we can show a whole that has 4 equal pieces. And if we shaded one of those, that would give us the unit fraction of 1/4. Over here, there's another way that we can show a whole that has 4 equal pieces. And then we can shade in, let's shade in this one right here. This is the one we're counting. Yeah, not doing good with the pen today at all. Ooh, went outside the line a little there. So each one of these is a whole that has 4 equal parts. So we can see that the whole can look different each time. But that bottom number that told us there are 4 pieces to make up our whole, each one of these shows 4 equal pieces. And then that top number tells us how many we're talking about, just one. So we counted 1 out of the 4 pieces. So even though our whole can look different, that bottom number tells us how many equal parts are in the whole. So each one of these shows us 4 equal parts. And then the top number tells us how many we're counting. So we shaded 1 in each of these. So let's go to our next page. So in this, we have a whole and we have a shaded part. There we go. Let's go with green this time. So to show this fraction, I'm going to make my fraction bar. I know I'm going to have a number below and a number above. That number below, remember that number below tells us how many parts are in the whole. So let's count. 1, 2, 3. So that bottom number is going to be a 3 because there are three total parts. So that bottom number tells us how many pieces are in the whole. The top number tells us how many we're counting, and this says how many shaded parts. So we are looking at the shaded part. There is one that is shaded. So that top number is going to be a 1. So our fraction for this shaded part is 1/3. Top number, how many we're counting. Bottom number, how many total pieces in the whole. Go ahead and go to our lesson 8.3 share and show, the 2 questions. You'll be asked how many parts are in the whole, and then what is the fraction that's in the whole. Let me show you how to make a fraction. Okay, so an example, here we would have how many parts, how many equal parts you're going to put right here in this whole thing. And then over here where it says the fraction that names the shaded part is, remember the bottom number, you're going to click on it and you're going to type in how many total parts there are in the whole. And then on the top one, you're going to type in how many are shaded, the number that we're counting, the part that is shaded. Okay, so that's what you need to do in the share and show.